Good evening and welcome to the last branching out of 2022. Don't worry, Jonathan, we'll be back in 2023. Panic not. Apologies, we're a few minutes later starting. We've had a few technical issues. We're joined by Viv this evening, who's looking splendid there in black and white. So hi, Viv, give us a wave.
Hello. I'm really sitting here in my pajamas. I didn't want anybody to know. That's why I haven't switched my camera on. Not true.
And we're also joined by the lovely Charlotte, our branching out regular. Hi, Charlotte.
Hello.
And Jonathan as well. Good evening, Jonathan.
Good evening to you all.
Have you all opened your advent calendars today?
Yes.
Oh, have you got an advent calendar, Jonathan?
No, I do not have an advent calendar.
Oh, Charlotte can't believe that.
I have
pulling a surprise.
Well, my daughter has, I think, probably 3 or 4. But
even my dog has one.
Oh,
the terrible, sad news is that, and this is thoroughly boring. I mean, this is exclusive live. The reality is I'm allergic in effect to chocolate, and if I have chocolate at all, then my acid reflux plays havoc with my body, and I go into coughing fits.
no.
Yeah, big news, hot topics, finger on the pulse of youth culture. This show.
Story, Charlotte. Could you lead us into another story of the week, then, please? Is it going to top Jonathan's advent calendar story?
Possibly not. Okay. I have been scrolling through every news source possible to come up with a fun story for the end of 2022. And the most fun I could find, very loose, was a German man who has a very strange collection of wheelie bins, and worldwide, out of like the whole world of wheelie bins, he only needs a purple bin that can only be found in the UK. Yeah. He's just waiting to complete it for one purple wheelie bin to complete the whole set of worldwide wheelie bins.
So the question is, should we get a purple wheelie bin sponsored by Branch sent over to him then?
I don't know if our budget can stretch that far. I've never heard of a purple wheelie bin. Excuse me.
Well, they exist.
Oh,
I'll hide where I got the news story from.
They really do exist.
Yeah.
Wow.
And he's got miniatures. He's got.
Oh wow. Okay.
Wow.
Giant ones.
I mean, I want to know how he's got this thing, because we've got a black wheelie bin and a green wheelie bin, and sometimes that's too much to manoeuvre.
Well, he said I don't know where he keeps them, but he says like he offers people money and they just give him them for free. Like they ship them to him in Germany.
Wow. That happens with me with horses.
Yeah.
I just seem to gather horses for free.
I think the only thing I gather is dust. Are you a collector of anything, Lucy? I mean, you're going to tell us now that you got the second largest collection in the world of wheelie bins.
I feel like we've got the second largest collection of Lego in our house, but that's not me collecting it, Jonathan.
That might have nothing to do with you, that Lego.
Absolutely nothing to do with me.
Oh, brilliant. But that, I mean, I think Viv, that's quite a claim you've got there, isn't it, of collecting horses?
Well, I think that's an exaggeration, really. What happens is, I think really that because of the equine work that we do, our equine facilitated project, the animals that come, they do come to us. I really think that the Lord sends them our way because they need to be rescued, they need to be loved. They've each got a story attached to them, and some of their stories are quite difficult to hear, really. So So it's not exactly that I collect them. It's just that they just seem to arrive. Their stories arrive, and then they're embraced and part of the family. Sheep as well, and goats. Yes, animals in general. I think, as I sit here, sort of thinking about it, it seems that the Lord sends us animals in general to rescue.
So is this
Not just
kind of horses downstairs, sheep upstairs, and goats upstairs in your house, or have you got a little field that you keep them in?
No. We have we rent, the Salvation Army rent a 3-acre field in Ruadine.
Oh, there we go.
And that's where it's a small holding really, and that's where we have all our animals.
Oh, fantastic!
Mm.
Is it only branching out that we can go from wheelie bins to horses very seamlessly?
Sorry? Can we do what?
I said it's only in branching out that we can have a conversation that goes from wheelie bins in Germany to horses in Ruadine.
You're so gifted at what you do, guys.
Yeah, that's what we say. Others tell the truth.
Well, Viv, I think we're ready to watch some of our branching out, but we do get quite competitive in branching out. So, Jonathan, I'm going to hand over to you for our monthly questions.
Ooh.
Absolutely. So Viv spoke on Branch last Saturday, and it's the custom that those that speak at Branch come on branching out and have to lie through their teeth as quickly as possible to answer as many questions as they can in 30 seconds.
Oh, I have to lie through my teeth.
Yeah, so basically the idea is to answer as many questions as possible. Okay. So we're not interested in the truth, we're interested in speed. Now, just before I start, I'm getting a bit of feedback. So should I plug my headphones in? Let's just see if it's me a second. Can I still hear myself? Right, I think is the echo still there? It is. Okay, never mind. Well, if you're watching this, then you get to hear me twice. There we go. Okay, so I've got my questions. There they are. There's the questions. Viv, I actually have questions written down. So the record is 10. So I'm hoping in 30 seconds that we actually run out of questions, okay?
Okay.
Wonderful. Right, so we need 30 seconds on the clock. So Charlotte is volunteered to do the countdown. Are we going to have this Adam style with the have the extra bit of picture is already there. And Lucy is going to be keeping the score for us. Is that correct, Lucy? She's got a thumbs up there. Fantastic. So, Charlotte, if you could give us a countdown, and I shall be as quick as I can in asking these questions.
3, 2, 1, go.
If you were stranded on a tropical island, what one thing would you take with you?
My dog.
What's your favourite book growing up?
Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe.
Use one word to describe your computer ability.
Pathetic.
How many keys do you have on your key ring?
12.
What's one food you wouldn't want to give up?
Gooseberries.
Morning, noon, or night? Which one?
Morning.
If you eat steak. Surely we started, so we finish.
Yeah.
So if you happen to eat steak or not, I don't know, having sheep and goats, whether you're too much of an animal lover to cut into one. Obviously, steak being beef, I do know that. It's not from a sheep or a goat. How would you like your steak cooked?
Medium rare.
Medium rare, there we go. So I can't believe, was that really 30 seconds?
Yes.
That felt like about 10. Honestly.
Yeah, it didn't feel very long, did it?
Yeah, I think we've been cheated, Viv.
Jonathan,
Yeah, I
it's
think
because Charlotte wasn't using that trusty watch of yours.
I know, this is it, you see. So, Lucy, I got a feeling that we didn't reach 12.
Not quite 12, but we did get to 7. So well done, Jonathan and Viv.
Oh, Viv.
Oh, only
Fantastic.
7. I blame the
Fantastic.
question master. Too much dawdling.
Me
Too
too.
much dawdling
Hey,
over the
that is the
questions.
second time I've been accused
Yes.
oh dear. I might give up on asking questions. Back to you, Lucy.
Well, thank you, Jonathan. And Viv. So we had a great together on today. We had our Christmas special, and Viv brought a word to us looking at Jesus being our role model. And Viv reminded us that Jesus as a role model is somebody who's really strong and really dependable, and got us to think about actually what do we look for in a role model. So to start us off, what do you look for in a role model?
That's a great question. So, what do I look for in a role model? I think, I'll be honest, I don't have, I'm okay, apart from Jesus. Let's just park that up for a second. I don't know if I actually have a role model at the moment. And that's actually concerning because I think actually if you're kind of looking to achieve something, whether you need that person in a particular field to kind of look towards as a standard, isn't it, I guess? So I think apart from obviously Jesus himself, I think I need to get myself a role model.
I think what Viv said on Saturday about having a role model that is willing to be different for what they believe in is really important to me to have for that, because I think of the people that I look up to kind of in church particularly, and they are people that live life differently because of their faith. What about you, Lucy?
Again, I think sort of it is having somebody that's really dependable and actually somebody that, I suppose, a role model is somebody you want to mimic, isn't it? Actually, is looking for those really good qualities in them as well, and yeah, that dependability really, and like that trust, I suppose, as well. I'd also say, yeah.
I have had a sudden thought in my dilemma of role models. If I don't have a role model, is that because I am other people's role model? Sorry, I feel shame. I really do. Viv, who's your if I say without kind of brushing it too much aside, obviously Jesus being your role model, no doubt. Who would you kind of say in whether it's the equine world or kind of in what you do with the Salvation Army? Are there kind of role models that you look up to and follow?
I'm not. Can you hear me?
Yes, yeah, you're coming through.
You can hear me. Okay, that's fine. Well, I don't know. I think it can be a risky thing choosing a role model, which is why I feel on one hand secure saying that Jesus is my role model and kind of sticking with that. I think other people who might be people that I know, live alongside, people in my church, in my community, within the Salvation Army. It could even be somebody that I see on the television and there is something in their life. I think for me, rather than those people being a role model, I think I often look to them for challenges that might make me live a little bit differently in one particular area. Perhaps it might make me a little bit more courageous or a little bit more bold or a little bit more compassionate. So rather than having one role model who kind of he just brings everything to me, there are people in my life that I would look at and say, do you know, I love the way that they handle themselves around this and how they do that, etc. The thing also, though, about Jesus is that he's a risky role model too, because you know, I mean, you were saying, Charlotte, that there are people in your church that you hold up as a role model, or you like the way that they live differently because of their faith. Well, Jesus sometimes pushes us even beyond the expectation of our religious framework, doesn't he? We saw him doing that all the time with religious people of his day, and I think he still can do that to us now. We get really comfortable in living a certain way and talking a certain way and responding a certain way. And often Jesus, if we really had him as our role model, if we were really following his way, it could take us to some uncomfortable places, even within our churches.
So is it kind of in following that line? Would it be fair to say that actually having a role model as a singular person, so, you know, let's just say, for example, a lot of people will maybe have David Beckham as a role model. I'm trying to think of a female as well, and all I can think of is the Kardashians, and that's probably a terrible choice. But is it a bad thing to have a singular role model, because they are human and they are going to get things wrong and they're going to make some bad choices, and actually if we become too fixated on a single person to shape our lives, I guess that's what we do with Jesus. It's we look to Jesus to shape our life. Then actually it's a bad thing to have a role model. Can we go too far? What do people think?
I think it's making sure you're not putting others before Jesus, though, isn't it? And actually, you're making sure that you're not idolizing something or somebody really, and raising them up to places that they shouldn't be.
I think it's okay to look at somebody like David Beckham and maybe just stop yourself and ask the question, what is it exactly about him that intrigues me or encourages me or inspires me? What is it about him? It could be his ability as a footballer. It could be the way that he dresses. It could be the fact that he's quite entrepreneurial, isn't he, really, in the way that in the fashion industry and that kind of thing. What is it about him? But always remembering that, as you said, Jonathan, he is fundamentally going to be flawed, because he's human. And it can be quite unfair of us, I think, sometimes to put people on this pedestal, expecting them to be perfect. Well, we wouldn't want to sit on that pedestal ourselves, because we know how imperfect we are. That actually taking elements of these people and saying, I like that inspires me, and that's going to help to grow me as a person, rather than perhaps wanting to model our complete selves on their complete selves, if that makes sense.
Yeah, no, absolutely. So then, in thinking of flipping the coin over, and as just to call ourselves youth workers, if we may, the fact that we all pitch up to branch. Lucy, you're a youth worker whether you like it or not, I'm afraid.
I thought you were going to call me youthful then, Jonathan.
and youthful, of course. We all are very, very youthful indeed. And I guess then there's that challenge for us as Christians. And if I may say, the fact that we're not teenagers, should we just leave it at that, Lucy? We're not teenagers anymore. The fact that actually there are going to be people who, because we might be up the front in our churches as well, up the front in branch, that actually we are role models as well. And I guess then there's the challenge for us of, yes, Jesus is my role model, but actually is there, or there could be people looking at us to say, oh, you know, I see Lucy up the front in our church, or I see Lucy doing this and that, and actually she's somebody who's you know, got it all together, etc., etc. She's confident, she's funny, she's, you know, all these wonderful things. I'd love to be like Lucy. Sorry to pick on you particularly, Lucy, for no particular reason at all. And I guess then there's a challenge for us is to up our game as well, isn't it? And that's where I guess having Jesus as our role model rather than maybe anybody else, as Viv said, in the kind of completeness, that we go, oh, okay, then actually, and it's being careful that we don't put ourselves in a goldfish bowl, but to a point I guess we are, aren't we?
I think we've been studying Colossians at church. We're looking at Colossians 3, and there's something I shared a few weeks ago at church, actually, that, you know, it's what we're doing with our actions, isn't it? That people are seeing, that it talks in there about clothing yourself with love and things like that. And I think just being really conscious that our actions are quite often an outward expression of our faith as well, aren't they? They're what people see. But, you know, like you say, you can be standing up in church on a Sunday, but actually, you know, how are our actions on a Monday morning when the photocopy is not working, or we're stuck in a traffic jam or something? Are we displaying, you know, the right attitude? Are we being, you know, those good role models and those ambassadors for Christ, really? Colossians 3 goes on to talk, doesn't it, about whatever you do, work at it as though you're working for the Lord. And I think, you know, that's something that I've pondered on recently, actually, as being really important, because those actions are going to be what people see. And am I displaying what I should be? Am I being Christ-like in everything that I do? Not always, by the way. Yeah. Still working on it.
I think, Viv, you really brought that out in and I'm going to forget which gospel it was in now, but the woman, Mark's gospel. Thank you. So it was the two account stories of Jesus being touched, or his hem being touched by the woman who was bleeding, and I forget the other.
It was the leper.
Thank you. And I guess that's the reality that Jesus was willing to really kind of, I mean, you said this already, he really stepped over the threshold, didn't he? For these two people.
Yes, he did. Yeah, he stepped over all sorts of thresholds, Jonathan, didn't he? He stepped over the social threshold, the religious threshold, you know, what society would expect of him as a rabbi. So all of those things, he just stepped over them. They were not bigger than his compassion and his love, and the fact that he just really wanted to reach those people in need where they were at, and make himself available to them and respond when they reached out for him. They weren't too busy. He wasn't too busy doing religious stuff as a rabbi to stop. Oh, there's my computer gone. Oh, there you go. You're back. Just to stop and give time to. Sorry about that. To give time to people. As I say, made himself unpopular too. And when he was doing these things, let's remember, this was the start of his pathway to the cross, because he upset so many people. And you know, sometimes we need to expect to be unpopular rather than popular as leaders. That sometimes the judgment calls that we have to make in how we treat people, how we respond, our priorities, will make us unpopular.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And I think I love the bit with the woman with bleeding, that Jesus knew that she was healed, and we always read it sometimes where kind of Jesus calls her out to kind of almost shame her, but it was just totally the opposite of that, wasn't it, really? And I think is that, you know, for us, I think that whole really that compassion that Jesus has to really kind of bring it home for that woman to know that she had been healed, and actually that was fine. What she did was perfectly fine, almost that sort of validation of what she did. So yeah, but yeah, there's another great challenge, isn't it, that as leaders in whatever realm we're in, we're to be put ourselves up to be unpopular.
It is. Do you know, I think, Jonathan, that's probably one of the most exciting parts of both of those stories, because when Jesus does call her out, if you remember, I picked out the fact that he referred to her as a daughter, a daughter of God. And what he was doing when he said that, he was reinstating her back into the community. In the same way, when he touched the leper, physically holding that leper in that way, was reinstating that leper, making the statement for both of those two characters: you are clean. You are clean. Therefore, if you are clean, you can come into society. And I wonder sometimes if that is something the church, and I include all of ourselves in this when I say it, that we sometimes fall down a little bit on that. You know, that we're good at being compassionate, and we're good at meeting people's needs in some way, but do we reinstate them? Do we give them their dignity? You know, do we give them their place among us? That really, that's what Jesus did. And I think that's a challenge to us if we're really going to follow our role model. And that can make us unpopular.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Yeah, I think it's a serious challenge that we glibly say, you know, Jesus is my Lord and Savior. That's kind of words we use, and I guess to use this different word of Jesus as my role model, I think it really pushes us to, what does it mean that I am a follower of Jesus? And I think there is. And we will always challenge ourselves, because we can, in a good way, we can never reach perfection. But there is that challenge, isn't there, that we got to keep on keeping on.
Yeah.
On that respect, isn't it, really?
I think what you're saying is we've got to live the talk, haven't we, really?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, we've we've been greatly challenged. We've been doing this whole series for a whole year, actually looking at the different aspects. Well, aspects is the wrong word, I know, but different parts of Jesus. We're looking at sort of the communion. We've looked at Jesus' humanity, Jesus' divinity, Jesus in the Old Testament. Help me out, Lucy and Charlotte. The other ones we've done.
The baptism of Jesus.
Oh, yes, well done. Thank you ever so much. That was only back in November as well. That we've done that, and I think we've got a real kind of a slightly better understanding of Jesus and the complexity of him, and almost it is a little bit. And I think this is what I kind of really want to get across. To young people, to people watching this, that there is this kind of ideal, this kind of standard that we all aim for, that we go for, that is good to aim at, but the reality that we will never reach or make the same standard as Jesus, because as we looked at his divinity, he is divine, and the fact is we're not. Although we're made in the image of God, we are not God at all. And so I think it's just to encourage everybody to kind of, you know, at the times that you fail, at the times that you get it wrong, and you know, this kind of whole idea of Jesus is my role model, and my role model will be ashamed of me. He never is.
No.
He loves us dearly. He wants to encourage us, and he wants to see us succeed. But he knows we're human, because he has been human as well, and he loves us dearly, and he can't stop loving us. I think that's really kind of important, just to kind of push across when we look at and we want to kind of copy and be our, you know, having Jesus as our role model. I think that's hopefully that's kind of, I think I put all the words in the right order there, pretty much, in what to say, but just to encourage people when we do fail. Because I know I can't speak on behalf of Lucy, Charlotte, or Viv. But I know for myself, I fail miserably most days, and yet I know that Jesus is that one, to use that kind of football analogy, if you like, when you fall over on the football pitch, the one to kind of reach out the hand to pick you back up and get you back going again, for sure. I don't know if that would you say that was scriptural?
Well, I would.
That sums it up very well, Jonathan.
I would challenge you a little bit on that, Jonathan.
Yeah, please, Viv.
If you feel that you're only that if you feel that you're failing, I am sure Jesus would not see it that way. The real challenge to us, the real challenges to us, is if Jesus is going to be our role model, we really need to know him. Otherwise, what we tend to do is that we become pious and we become religious. And those things are not Christ-like, actually. Do you remember those bracelets everybody used to wear with WWJD on them? Do you remember those? I mean, they're completely out of fashion now, and I'm sure that the folks who come to Rob would never wear one. But actually, the message on them is still really, really powerful, I think. And it's not what would my church do? What do I think I should do as a Christian? But what would Jesus do? And to answer that, we need to know what Jesus would do. And the answer would often take us by surprise, because it can be, as I've said all along, he does things in a risky way. He does things in an unusual way, but always full of compassion, always giving people dignity, always including people and being an example of who God, his Father, is to them.
Absolutely. Yeah, need to get to know Jesus.
Yeah,
for sure.
Charlotte, have you got a verse of the week for us, please?
I do. The verse is from Ephesians, and it is, pray in the Spirit on all occasions and all kinds of prayers and requests. With this in mind, be alert and always keep on praying for all the Lord's people. And I picked this one in particular, this verse, because I love the whole passage in Ephesians. It talks about the armor of God and how we're given like the sword of the breastplate of righteousness, the sword of the Spirit, and different things from God through the Bible. We're given all of these things and through the Holy Spirit, and so that we can stand up against things that are wrong. And this verse, I just thought you can come to God with anything, big or small. And like Viv was saying on Saturday, there's nothing that Jesus or God has seen nothing. Anyway, he's seen everything. He knows everything. He nothing too big or too small that you can come to him with. But that's what we need to do, is come to him. That's the most important thing, is that we're coming to him, knowing him, reading about him, and just praying for him and his people and for ourselves.
Thank you, Charlotte.
Lovely.
Well, Jonathan, I'll hand over to you for the last summing up of 2022.
Oh, I feel in the pressure of that immediately, Lucy. Well, it's been a fun evening, for sure. We've been well, I think I've been shamed with my speed reading skills yet again. I have let Viv down. I've let the team down, and maybe 2023 is a time where I hang up. Don't start nodding, Charlotte.
No, 2023 is the year you get it back, Jonathan.
Maybe I need to know my limitations. But I learned my limitations for sure. We've really kind of really tackled, I think, and looked at role models in general, and the good and the bad of following humans and putting humans on a pedestal, and actually realizing that having another fellow human role model, as good qualities as they might have, they are flawed, just like we are. And so we have to look at Jesus to be our role model for sure. To follow him is a challenge, without a shadow of a doubt. But the best way to follow him is to get to know him. And so I guess whatever's happened in 2022 for you as a Christian, or even if you're not a Christian and you've been looking at what these Christians believe, that 2023 may be the challenge for yourself, if you ever dare to do New Year's resolutions, is to say, this year I want to get to know Jesus. And I think then when we really we're never going to fully know him, okay, but when we get to know him, maybe then we'll be able to follow him so much easier and so much better. Back to you, Lucy.
Well, thank you, Jonathan, and thank you, Charlotte and Viv. It's been great to be with you all this evening, and we look forward to seeing you all in 2023. So have a very happy Christmas.
Absolutely. Happy Christmas.
Christmas.
Happy Christmas.
Happy New Year.
Thank you for having me.